Hi guys, Fernandes Limbo on the grid on Facebook Live. I know you did this thing solo last week.
I did.
How was it? What was the response? I'm back by popular demand. That's why I'm back here. But how'd it go?
It went well. It went well, but I'm glad this is back now. No, it was pretty cool on Facebook Live.
Right.
Facebook Live is a big thing now. I did it a few times from spring training.
Right.
Just videotaping batting practice and stuff. Not videotaping, I shouldn't say that. But just linking batting practice and other stuff. And it's pretty cool. People get a kick out of it. So I'm glad we're moving forward with this stuff.
So people who don't see it live, they can sort of tune into this later. So it will be live, but not really live. Then,
well,
right?
It's live right now, but if you miss it, you can see the video a little later,
right.
and people will know. Okay. At 1:30 every Wednesday, I know Facebook goes live with On the Grid.
I'm glad we're caught up here in the current century.
We really are. We're doing a good job moving forward. A digital footprint.
Digital footprint. Speaking of which, let's look forward at what we have coming out Sunday.
Sure.
We'd like to promote ourselves. The Winter All-Area team will be out in Sunday's paper.
Yeah.
Just let people know out there just what goes into picking this team. Like I did it a few years ago where you get actually the coaches into a room and you debate for several hours. It's not quite involved anymore, right? I discussed
this last week, but I'll just encapsulate it.
Right.
Sort of. We just send the forms out to the ADs and the coaches, and they get back to us. And,
right.
We ask them for about 6 nominees from their own team in order of preference, and then we ask for a Player of the Year and Coach of the Year nominee, not just from their own team, but if they think, for example, we had a lot of people nominate other coaches, other players.
Sure.
As I mentioned, I think in the fall, the good thing about this area is there is a lot of that. Not every coach nominates himself or herself or their own player. They always kind of say, hey, I think so-and-so at so-and-so school had a really good year. I've seen coaches nominate other coaches just because the way their team plays the game. Like their team plays the game, the good sportsmanship and stuff like that. So that's pretty much how we do it, and then we go through all that information and pick the team that we feel best represents the area. As I mentioned last week, no one ever totally agrees with it. But if they did, it wouldn't be any fun.
Yeah, I remember we used to do it. We used to get coaches in a room, and not every coach would show up, and invariably we'd make a pick on a team, and because that coach wasn't there, he'd contact me a couple of days later. How did you forget about my guy or my girl? I'm like, Coach, show up at the meetings, and maybe you'll have a better chance of getting your guy.
And that's kind of how it is now. I mean, we obviously if a coach sends his stuff in a timely fashion with a lot of information, it's a lot easier. We're not really punishing the kids if we don't include them, but there's only so much we can do. I mean, if we don't get any names, any stats from a certain coach, how are we going to include them on the team?
Right.
So a lot does hinge on coaches' cooperation. And for the most part, the coaches are pretty good getting this information. So look for that in Sunday's Herald-Tribune, HD Preps, and in the newspaper. Right. We're going to have videos as well from all the all-area Players of the Year. So it should be fun.
A little bit of news today. Northport principal Brandon Johnson had a statement regarding John Peacock, the head coach at Venice, getting suspended for supposedly, recruiting someone. Mr. Johnson's statement really kind of innocuous, focused on the football season.
Right.
And we're looking forward. Kind of a big deal, though, down in Venice. Kind of a he said, she said. I mean, Coach Peacock is saying that Northport reached out first, while the FHSA basically said that it was the other way around.
And Coach Peacock also admitted he didn't report the communication he should have. So, I think Northport's statement was kind of a, we're moving past this now, it's over, it's a dead issue. The FHSA has come down and they've I'm not saying it's a dead issue, but I think Northport is kind of taking the high road in the sense of, we reported our findings, the FHSA made these rulings, and now we're just going to go ahead. So for good reason. Northport's going to play Venice in football. Right.
So, I mean, you don't want to really give Venice any more incentive to try to kick your butt. So they're trying to let this go, basically under the rug and let it go the rest of the year until football season. But left a black eye on Venice. And I talked to Pete Dombrowski, the AD down there, and I texted him. I said, there are a lot of coaches around this area who are taking great pleasure in what you guys are going through. And he said, absolutely.
Right.
So, going forward, hopefully they put it behind them. And, and John has learned his lesson out there. If you're going to try to do this, don't become, so directly involved in this.
Well, that's one of the things, too, about hopefully people learn from this and moving forward. And like you said, it is a bit of a blemish. I mean, Venice coming off one of the greatest seasons ever. It took the otherworldly Aquinas to beat them in the playoffs. So it is kind of a dark mark. I mean, they're playing IMG next year. So there's a lot of good things with the Venice football program. And this is kind of a bit of a nick there. So
I just want to let people know the difference. I mean, kids can go wherever they want now, but you can't coerce a kid. You can't suggest to a kid to come to a school. That's something totally different than the kid just saying, I can go here and I'm going there.
That's always been on the books, and I think the problem too here was, as Coach Peacock said, not alerting them of the communication that his student had with another student. That's kind of where this all began. So, hopefully, you can't say hopefully it never happens again. It happens all over the place.
Sure.
Let's be honest. But, hopefully, people learn from this and move forward. And next time we talk about football, it'll be just about football. But, this stuff comes up, too, and we got to talk about it.
And we're moving forward into beach volleyball. You wrote a very good story about Braden Christian and Mooney being into beach volleyball. The annual, the third annual Battle of the Beach was, the teams have already been named.
That's for the indoor volleyball.
Exactly, for the indoor volleyball. I played beach volleyball, jumping up in the sand. It's really great conditioning for your legs. But just talk about that story. Yes.
No, it was pretty cool. The Sunshine State Athletic Conference, they're independent. BCS, ODA, and St. Stephen's play football in that. And they started the beach volleyball league. 22 teams in the league. BCS and Mooney, the only two in this area. But it's pretty cool, Mooney plays out in Bee Ridge Park. BCS plays at the Riverwalk, I should say, out in Bradenton along the river, which is really nice. So, and talking to both coaches, Chad Sutton, Andrea Neeser, it's going to help their indoor programs. And these girls want to do it. They want to come out and they want to play beach volleyball. The weather is, for now, it's okay. I'm sure if it gets any later, it's going to be really hot. But April 22nd is a state tournament. All the teams this first year are eligible for it. So it's a short season. But, the SSAC, I think it's been done a good job so far in the sports they've started. So, we'll see how this goes moving forward, see if other teams around here do it as well.
I was friends with Kristen Batt, who used to be the head coach at Mooney. Now she's out in Arizona at Canyon University teaching beach volleyball. And she was well-versed in both, obviously.
She was. And I think, as Brooke Peachy said in my story, they kind of got the girls at Mooney wanting to do it because they saw how well their coach was doing. And now, of course, she's coached at the college level, as you mentioned. So, it's pretty cool. And, again, it's tough with the spring. You got girls who run track, girls who play, a lot of girls who play travel basketball, as a lot of BCS girls are doing. So it's not the easiest sport to kind of wedge in there. But, we'll see how it is moving forward. And Mooney and BCS seem to be happy they have it.
When I went to school at Missouri, you could take one of these electives, like 1 hour and half hour, half-hour credit.
Yes.
I took volleyball, and actually, there was a volleyball course that I took. And even at 6'3", which I am, I had trouble getting over the net. So I didn't think I ever had a career at volleyball at that point. Went into journalism instead.
Good idea. And you can write about people who are athletic.
I still can't jump, even in journalism.
I haven't jumped once in my life.
Let's talk about some bad news, kind of stupid news if you ask me. Cody Brickhouse, former Sarasota Sailor, the guy's 20 years old, 15th round draft pick of the San Francisco Giants 2015, tested twice, second time now for banned substances, suspended 50 games. I remember Manny Ramirez getting suspended twice. That second time, knowing what he was doing, getting suspended. I mean, you get suspended twice, and you're 20 years old for you. I mean, obviously you haven't learned your lesson the first time.
Right.
Hopefully Cody, who I covered him in high school, Cody will realize after this second 50 game that you got to watch. And I'm not saying, what he took. It might have been something he didn't realize in a supplement, where there are a million things in supplements now that athletes are not allowed to take. But you really got to know what you're putting in your body if you're a pro athlete.
Yeah, and like you said, hopefully, again, it goes back. Hopefully he learned his lesson this time.
Right.
I mean, this is, and again, we don't know. I don't know what happened.
Right, exactly. So the substance wasn't named.
Right. I'm not going to sit here and say, pass judgment on what happened. But hopefully someone learns their lesson here, and not just in baseball, but in life. You hope this isn't a bigger problem.
Right.
So obviously not the best news. I covered Cody as well. He was part of that Sarasota team that almost won the state championship a couple years ago. Kind of had a nondescript regular season. Then they go to the state championship game and almost win the whole thing. So it is a bit of bad news, and hopefully he learned. He is still young. He's 20 years old. So hopefully he learns from it going forward and has a productive career in life ahead of himself.
Right now, Cody is coming to the HT to hit me upside the head with a baseball bat. So
I'll tell you where his desk is.
Oh, over here, last thing, boys lacrosse.
Yeah.
You will be at the District 17 final. Who's playing in that? Cougars and Rams.
Yeah. Mooney's won the last two district championships. Riverview's still kind of new in lacrosse, so they're in a district final as well. And lacrosse is a little different. This is the one sport where only the champion moves forward. The playoffs are weird. It's like the state play-in, second round play-in, so you have to win to move forward in district championships. Should be a fun game. And the girls are playing as well. Don't know who that matchup is just yet. I think their semifinals are tonight, Wednesday night, so we'll know more after that.
Lacrosse has really grown, not only in the country. In certain areas of the country it's known, but down here it's really grown in the last few years. I think a lot of athletes, maybe potential football players or other athletes, are going into this sport, and which is contributing to its rapid growth around the country.
It's huge. I mean, I'm from Long Island, and
it's big up there.
It's big in the north. It's a bit northern sport now. It's kind of moving its way down south. It's a fun sport. It's fun to watch. It's very fast paced. It's when played right. It has its, I don't say violent, but
you can chop, right? I mean, in hockey, you see using the chop at the ankles. You really can't chop it. You can chop at the ball. You can chop at the stick, right? Exactly.
So it is a fun sport to watch, and more kids are playing it. And it's big that Riverview is playing it. They're a public school that has it. A lot of it's private schools around here. So this is the one public school in the FHSAA that's playing lacrosse. And again, like volleyball, we'll see if this spreads.
And good luck to the local teams in any sport.
Yeah.
So that's our philosophy going forward here and on the grid.
Yep.
So we got the all-area team coming out Sunday. What else should fans look forward to in the area coming up?
Tennis next week.
Right.
And then begins the also state weightlifting this weekend. Dennis Maffezoli will be there. And the Land, I believe it is. Another big trip. But now district tennis, baseball, softball, track, it's winding down.
And one last thing, Karan Higdon, the Michigan running back, former Riverview, he'll be down here in May holding an exposure camp in the area, basically trying to bring exposure to the athletes, football players in this area. So I'll have something about that in the paper coming up, talking to Karan. So we got plenty of stuff looking forward to on the grid.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next year, again, live on Facebook next week. Exactly. So for Lembo, Fernandez, we'll see you next week on the grid.
Are we still live?